video is going to cover two things. It's going to cover masking and hiding and showing of the geometry. First we'll do hiding and showing the geometry. So this is only for really visibility. The other thing it can do is you can delete things that are hidden, and like if you wanted to get rid of a part of the model, you could hide it and then delete it. But usually it's to say you want to focus on a certain part and hide the rest. It's like a hiding and showing. So the way to do that is you have to hold, see where the brush is over here? You have to hold Control and Shift. Remember, Shift brings you to smooth as you're sculpting from the last video. Control and Shift brings you to this brush, which is a selection brush. So with Control and Shift held, if I'm outside in the canvas and I click and drag, I'm going to make a square, and it's going to be green. Now, green, it's going to hide everything outside of the green box. So if I let go of the right click or your tablet, it's hiding that. Now we can get off of, let me do that over and get off of symmetry. So if I do X, I'm off of symmetry. So say I just want to work on this side. I could do Control and Shift and drag. Now with a pen, I'm holding Control and Shift and pushing down on the pen and dragging. Now the geometry still exists, it's just hidden. So you can sculpt and do whatever you want. Now to get it back, you hold Control and Shift and just tap the canvas. So I'll do it again. Control and Shift and drag. Control and Shift and tap. Now the other thing is Control and Shift and drag. Now I'm still holding the pen down or the left click down, but now I let go of the Shift and Control. It's still here, but my fingers aren't on Shift and Control anymore. If now I hold down the Alt key, you will see that it turns red. Now, what the red means is it's going to hide everything inside the box. So now if I let go of the pen or the left click, it's going to hide that part. I'll do it again. Control and Shift to get it started, like this is the area that I want to hide. Remember the green box will hide anything outside. Control and Shift and drag. Take your fingers off Control and Shift, then push down on Alt. We'll bring it to a red. And the red box will hide everything inside the box. Now, if you wanted to delete something, say I did Control and Shift, I drag this corner, held down Alt, and let go of the pen. I just hid that part. Now remember, if I do Control and Shift and tap, I bring it back. But if I do this again, hide it, and I come over to Geometry, and it's where we found Mirror and Weld, and right underneath it is something called Delete Hidden. So if I click that, now if I do Control, Shift, and tap, it doesn't come back. That geometry is gone, and now you have a big hole here. So this may be something intentional you want to do. Just be aware that if you hit Delete Hidden, you will delete what is hidden. So Control Z and get back out of there. If you do Control and Shift, and I go over to the brush, and if I tap down, you have other options here. So if you want to do more of a lasso, here's a select lasso. Tap that, Control and Shift, now I can do some weird stuff. I can do Control and Shift and then hold Alt. Same thing, Control and Shift to tap to get it back. So you can hide some really interesting shapes here, and you can do a lot with that, not just for hiding, but you can do that for sculpting too. But that's later. So I have select lasso and select rectangle. Those are your options. So we're done with hiding and showing. The last part is masking. Masking will basically freeze an area and you will not be able to sculpt on it. Now this is used for a lot of different purposes. But say I wanted to sculpt around something, but I didn't want to affect the middle here. So what I can do is I will mask it. So instead of Control Shift like you're going to hide something, just hit Control, hold it down, and you'll see now it says Mask Pen. Now with the Control held down, you will see I'm starting to draw, basically paint on like a shadow almost. Let me get symmetry back for a second. And you will notice that the cursor changes from red to yellow when I hold down the Control. So as I paint or use the same brush, I'm not actually sculpting on the model, I'm not adding any detail, I'm not pushing or pulling. I'm just kind of putting this shadow color on there. Now, if I let go and then I just start to do sculpting, you can see that if I'm just dragging right across this whole thing, the part that I masked is not being affected. So if I smooth it, it's still not being affected. Even if I make the brush really big, still not being affected. So you can see how you can get some nice shapes, nice form by masking parts out, and just tap on the canvas. We'll invert it. So if I hold, again, if I hold Control and tap on the canvas, I invert it. So now the rest of it is masked and the circle part is not. So I can sculpt in here, but not affect the other side. So again, Control and tap will switch and reverse the mask. The way to clear a mask is to hold Control and just click and drag. You can also click and drag on a part of the model, kind of like showing and hiding the selection. It will mask like a corner, or use the shape that you're working with here. So if we go all the way back, I want to mask, say I'm in an orthographic view, I just want to mask this corner, I can hold Control, like instead of painting on it, I can just drag from the outside. That's okay. And now I have kind of like this perfect shape. And when you have something like this, you can come over to this other part under deformation. Remember, we went to deformation for mirror. There's some other features in here that you can do. So look at inflate. Inflate's the other one that I use. I don't use a lot of these, but I use inflate. Now if I do this, every part that is masked stays where it is, and every part that is not masked is being inflated. Now if I do Control and tap, I will reverse it. And if I do Control and drag, I'll clear it. So you can get some neat shapes here. So if I painted in here like this, and then I did inverted, and then I went inflate, I can go in or out. Then I can smooth it a little bit, and then clear it. It's a nice way to get started. If you wanted to do a nose, maybe you just did this. Inverted, inflate, and then you can start to smooth it out. Some people do ears this way, so I'll like basically So I'll use control and kind of just do like a little ear area here. Invert it. And then I'll do inflate. You can keep dragging it like this. It always resets to the middle. And you could try some of these other ones. There's a rotate. If I wanted to rotate on the X though, do that. Rotate on the Y. Do that. Or the Z. So I clear it, and then you can kind of smooth it out, and it kind of gives you like that base shape of an ear, and then you go in there and do more carving and sculpting. Kind of helps you a little bit. There's other ways to do it, but ears are tough anyway. The last thing to talk about for masking. Is how to adjust the fall off, or how tight or soft the masking is. So if I use the control and I paint, you can see pixel wise there is kind of a fall off here. So if I hold control and tap on the mask itself, you can see it's still masked, but it's very soft. If I do Alt, Control, and Alt, and I tap, I actually tighten that mask. If I just do Control, I smooth it out. Now, it works a little, it can be seen a little bit better with higher geometry. So, just like the selection, you can go to Control to do paint or this or whatever, and go to the brush, tap it over here, and you have some other options. So you can do, there's the lasso, so you can do lasso masking. You can get some interesting shapes there. And then you can do circle mask. And you can do square, all these other ones. But pen is the default. And just like the selection, if I do Control and drag, then take my finger off Control and hit Alt, it'll be white, and that will undo it. So if I made this whole thing, so if I wanted to tap, get the whole thing masked, just hold Control, like you're going to paint or drag, and just tap. Masks the entire model. Now if I do Control and drag, and then hit Alt, it'll turn white, and then I can unmask an area. Or Control and Alt to paint out a mask. So to sum it up, Control to paint, Control and tap on the canvas to invert the mask. If I painted a mask, I want to remove some of it, Control and Alt to remove it. Control and drag, then do Alt. Invert and Control and drag just in the corner. Don't touch the model, just outside of it, and it will clear the mask.